Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Arya there with the opposition's Mission 2019. Thank you so much for bringing us those details onto the latest in the 13,000 crore rupee PNB fraud. The Central Bureau of Investigation has requested Interpol to issue a red corner notice against absconding jewelers Nirav Modi and Gitanjali Group's Mehul Choksi. Both Nirav Modi and Mehul Choksi are the alleged masterminds behind the Punjab National Bank fraud. A red corner notice will help locate the two accused in member countries of Interpol. Welcome back. You're watching Reporter's Diary. The Modi government has opened the doors to bureaucracy for the private sector. With advertisements across newspapers, a centre has invited talent and motivated applicants from private sector for 10 jobs at the pay scale of a joint secretary. So who can apply? Well, you have to be over the age of 40 with work experience for a minimum of 15 years. You need to be at least a graduate and can apply from the 15th of June till the 30th of July. Now, the 10 jobs available are across 10 government ministries, including revenue, financial services, road transport, shipping, environment, renewable energy, civil aviation, among others. Now, the decision to appoint outside experts without clearing the UPSC has sparked a controversy. The Congress party claims that the move will sabotage the system and people belonging to the RSS and corporates will be influencing government decisions.
We need to know more. We will have a number of questions. We will address it separately. We will raise a number of questions. Let us see what the government's answer is before we come to a final conclusion. But there are serious misgivings about the advertisement that has appeared. But there are a number of questions that deserve to be asked, and we will, in the next couple of days, ask those questions.
He doesn't offer, he says you can compete. You can join, you can come take the exam, you can, or interview, whatever is decided. And you joined in the selection process. If you get selected, you will be taken. It's a good proposal. I welcome it because we need people with more knowledge of modern science, mathematics and so on to enter in.
अलग अलग सर्विस से लोग आते हैं. अगर बाहर से कोई आदमी जो है कॉम्पिटेंट है, गुणवत्ता वाला है, क्वालिटी वाला है, उसको ये मौका दिया जाना चाहिए. और उनके लिए कोई ऐसा नहीं, कोई लंबी सर्विस उनके लिए नहीं है, 3 साल और 5 साल की बात है. तो मुझे लगता है कि एक्सपेरिमेंट के आधार पर, प्रयोग के आधार पर निर्णय लिया गया. और पहले जब 2005 में निर्णय लिया गया, उस समय तो जब ये अपने रिफॉर्म कमेटी की डिपार्टमेंट से रिफॉर्म कमीशन की रिपोर्ट आई थी, उसमें बात उसमें कांग्रेस गवर्नमेंट थी. बाद में भी कांग्रेस गवर्नमेंट के ज़माने में आया. इन विषयों को हमको पॉलिटिसाइज नहीं करना चाहिए.
Last week, Max Life decided to pull out of the race to buy stake in IDBI Federal Life. This now makes AB Sun Life the sole bidder for the life insurance company. But CNBC TV18 learns that the entire deal process may become unviable as AB Birla Sun Life had laid down similar conditions as that of Max Life, which IDBI Federal Life had earlier failed to respond to. Now, this led to Max Life to decide that they would not pursue the current acquisition opportunity any further. Yash Jain joins us with the details. Yash, what are you picking up from your sources?
Well, Arundhati, as you rightly pointed out, Max Life's exit from the IDBI Federal Life Insurance deal leaves Aditya Birla Sun Life the sole bidder in this particular deal. But after all, it's not going to be very simple for Aditya Birla Sun Life as well. One needs to remember that Aditya Birla Sun Life had also placed similar prerequisites as Max Life Insurance, which essentially led to its exit. These prerequisites are, of course, on the front of bank assurance, like an exclusive tie-up for a period of 10 years, as well as productivity guarantee when it comes to these bank assurance partnership. What I am given to understand from my sources is that the sellers, which are IDBI Bank and Federal Bank, will not be able to put these prerequisites on paper in the form of an agreement. And if that does not happen, then of course Aditya Birla Sun Life will also have to revisit its intention to acquire 100% stake in IDBI Federal Life Insurance. So that is one thing that one needs to look out for. I was also going through a couple of deals which really happened in the recent past, and very interestingly, just 10 days ago, Warburg Pincus, the private equity player, bought about 26% stake of Legal and General in India First Life Insurance. That stake was bought for a value of about 710 crore rupees, valuing the company at about 2,733 crore. Now, one needs to understand that a valuation of 2,700 crore for India First Life Insurance gives a bank assurance network of over 8,000 branches, whereas at the same time, if you look at IDBI Federal Life Insurance, there the valuation which both the bidders have put is about 6,000 crore for about 3,000 branches. So by no means is this particular acquisition going to be cheap. In fact, it's very expensive considering the amount which the buyers are willing to pay and the asset which they're getting. So of course, this will be one point which the buyers would have looked at while considering their decision.
All right, Yash, thank you so much for bringing us those details. Now, in a move aimed at enhancing credit discipline among large borrowers and preventing perpetual rollovers, the Reserve Bank of India today released draft guidelines on loan system for the delivery of bank credit. Ritu Singh joins us now to explain the significance of this move. Ritu?
Well, you know, the Reserve Bank of India has made a significant step towards enhancing credit borrower discipline by implementing these new rules, which is called the draft guidelines on loan system for delivery of bank credit. First, it begins by defining what a large borrower is. So anybody with a working capital limit of over 150 crore rupees is defined as a large borrower. Now, there are certain terms that have been laid down by the RBI when it comes to banks extending credit to these borrowers or working capital. Number one, there will be something called a loan component or loan capital that will be defined, which will be minimum 40% of this working capital limit. Anything excess of that can also be drawn by these borrowers, but at least 40% has to be defined as a loan component. Now, why this is significant is because defining it as a loan component will mean that this item remains on the balance sheet, and therefore banks will have to recognize the risk and make provisions for this loan component, which otherwise in a working capital limit could be an off-balance sheet item, and therefore risk could not be identified by the banks, and provisions would not mandatorily have to be made by banks. The guidelines also go on to say that you can draw in excess of the minimum loan component, but only in the form of cash credit. And lastly, the undrawn portion of cash credit. So if you've given a 100 crore rupee loan, you know, of course the limit is 150, but for the sake of examples, if a 100 crore rupee loan is given and only 40 crore is the loan component, the excess 60 crore that has not been drawn by the borrower, that will attract a CCF or a credit conversion facility of 20%, which essentially is, it converts an off-balance sheet exposure into a credit risk exposure. So that will be applicable starting April. October onwards, these new guidelines will kick in, and that 40% minimum loan component will become 60% by April of next year.
All right, Ritu, thank you so much for breaking that down for us. Now, earlier today, the Interim Finance Minister Piyush Goyal met with the Power Minister R.K. Singh to discuss the Allahabad High Court's order on the RBI's February 12th circular. Now, the stressed power companies will be allowed to present their cases to the ministry this week. Remember, the Allahabad High Court had put on hold action against the power sector under the RBI Stress Assets Framework. Anshu Sharma has more details. Anshu?
Interim Finance Minister and full-time Coal Minister met his counterpart from the Power Ministry, R.K. Singh, and discussed the recent Allahabad High Court order, which was given to stay on the RBI circular, which was out on February 12th of this year. The RBI circular had said that even one-day default will lead to resolution of non-performing assets by the bankers, and the Power Ministry opposed the RBI circular, which had come out in February 12th. Now, we understand that Piyush Goyal at a conference held today said that Banking Secretary will convene a meeting between the Power Ministry officials and banking officials along with RBI officials, and there will be a representation from Association of Power Producers on the same issue. And apart from this, the Coal Ministry also discussed the issue of short supply of coal, e-auction of coal linkages and methodology for coal linkages, and also stressed on the fact that commercial mining of coal should happen sooner. Back to you.
All right, Anshu, thank you so much for those details. Now, Donald Trump has lashed out at India yet again for levying high tariffs on American imports. Speaking to the media on the sidelines of the G7 summit, Trump linked United States of America to a piggy bank that everybody was robbing. That's not all. The American president also threatened to top trading with nations that impose high tariffs. Rituparna Bhuyan joins us now. Ritu, this is not the first time that Trump has singled out India for high tariffs. So where do things stand when it comes to India-US trade? Also, the Commerce Minister is on a 2-day visit to Washington. What is expected from that visit?
That's right. This is not the first time that Donald Trump has spoken about high tariffs in India. But let's look at why this sensitivity when it comes to doing trade with India. I looked at trade figures of the past 5 years. And if you look at export figures, that is exports from India to the US, you will see that there has been a very strong increase in exports from India to the US from about $39.1 billion in FY14 to $47.9 billion in FY15. Now let's look at the import figures. That is the kind of goods that we have imported from US to India. On that count, you will see that this has been pretty okay. I mean, the strength of the India-US trade actually lies in the US, imports from India rather than US exporting into India. And as a result, the trade deficit, which is a difference between exports and imports, that has risen quite rapidly for US. And as a result, you would see the trade deficit between India and US on the US side has increased from $16.3 billion to $21.2 billion in FY18 in the past 5 years. Now, it is in this backdrop that Commerce Minister Suresh Prabhu is on a 2-day visit. He will be meeting USTR as well as several members of US Inc. And we understand that as far as this meeting is concerned, it's happening in the backdrop of several WTO disputes. You also have the Walmart-Flipkart deal in the backdrop, one of the largest deals that we have seen in the recent times. And of course, Trump's comments on import duties. Now, this is not the first time that the US administration has red flagged the high duties in India. In fact, in March, a report by USTR had gone into specific issues of trade. For example, on automobiles, we have seen up to 100% tariff, which Trump keeps on talking about. Then we have alcohol, you have natural rubber, resins, textiles. In textile, for example, the USTR says that up to 300% import duty is charged. And then you have duties on drug formulations, telecom equipment, solar water heaters, where India charges duties up to 20% in certain cases. So the USTR has been telling India, for example, on the issue of medical equipment, that you increased your import duties to 7.5%, which the USTR did not take it well. In fact, it also talked about how many of these medical companies are not able to get out of India and has no choice but to sell many of that medical equipment at a loss. Last but not the least, there are several technical barriers which USTR alleges India has when it comes to doing trade. For example, you have genetically modified crops where Indian norms are pretty strict. You have food packaging standards. You have dairy, alcohol, regulations related to that. And most of these will be raised during the talks between the USTR and the Indian Commerce Minister. With that, it's back to you.